So I brought my teardrop out here on my land to do a little camping for the night, and I figured it'd be a good time to do a walk around / tour of the teardrop since I've had it for a few years now. Kind of go over some of the equipment that I've added, some things that I would change if I were to build again, some things that have worked or haven't worked, some things that I had to fix since I've had the teardrop. Anyways, I just thought it'd be a good time to give you a little walk around and show you how it goes. Let's get started. So I'll just start in the front, work my way around to the back, and then inside. That didn't sound right. So the 7-pin connector. I first started off with a moldy connector, and that one failed. So I went to another moldy connector, bought the same one, and the blade on that eventually broke. So I switched over to a connector where you can take it apart, do the wiring yourself, and put it back together. This seems to be a better connector. I've had no problems with it since. So when you're looking into connectors, you might want to look into a non-molded one. Then I also put this connector on here so I can charge while towing, and I'll show you that up here. So from my connector, it runs up here to my C-Tech D250S, and it allows me to plug in a solar panel and to the alternator. And after I hooked this up, I ran to a trip to Colorado, and I was not charging while I was towing. I looked into it a little bit more, and it requires another box to be able to control enough amperage from the alternator to charge up my battery while towing. So that's might be something you want to look into. This is a little bit older model. I think I bought this in 2015, so they might be an all-in-one box now, or there's some other companies out there, but you might want to just double check and make sure that if you're going to get a box like this to do solar and alternator, that it is capable of doing all the functions that you want. All right, so this tongue box door, as you can see, I have the blue tape here. I need to take it off, but a while ago, I had it sitting outside and it was leaking, and I had to change the seal, like the manufacturer seal on it, to a little bit better seal, and that fixed my leaking problem. And then also, I had realized probably that when I was camping, a lot of times I would just close this and then lock this one side. And if it was raining pretty good, you can see how this doesn't seal up all the way. So I just started locking it when I'm camping. That way it creates a better seal. So if you have a door like this that you're going to put on your tongue box, you might just want to make sure that you're always closing it up tight. I'll just show you real quick what I store in here. I keep my 30 amp cable, an extension cord, my porta potty with some kitty litter, and then the battery. If I were going to do this again, I might, if I was going to put the battery in the tongue box, I might go with a lithium battery just to reduce about 50 to 75 pounds roughly. That would lighten up this tongue a little bit. So if you're going to put your battery in your tongue box, that might be something that you want to look at. All right, onto the tongue box lid. I have had no problems with this whatsoever with water intrusion. It seals very nice. I keep my manuals up here for my fridge and my inverter and the C-Tech over there. But other than that, yeah, it's worked out great. Now this sunlight / moonlight roof window here, I have had problems with. It's leaked on me a couple of times. The main part I think is the problem is because I did put it on the curve, and just the rigidity of the window and screwing it down kind of probably warped it a little bit. I had first thought it was leaking around the outside edge, so I had resealed that a couple times, took the screws out, made sure it had enough sealant, and it still kept leaking. Then I went around on the inside of the window and resealed that, and that seemed to fix my problem, but it came back again, and I think that might be due to going down a bunch of dirt roads and just shaking, and so I would suggest, if you are going to put in a window like this, just go ahead and put it on the flat part of the roof up there. I've had zero problems with that fan leaking, so I would say that that's probably the best way to go. It is nice to have. It does make the interior of the teardrop open up and look a little bit wider. So it is nice to have, but that might be something that you want to look into if you are going to put in a window on your roof. Another thing that I would do different is how I ran the wiring. I ran the wiring in channels on each side of the teardrop and then brought them towards the middle and then into the tongue box up here. If I were to redo it, I think I would just run them all the way down under the frame and then into the tongue box and then up. I haven't had any problems with water coming in this way, but it is possible that if it were going to go, that would be a place that I would get into. So if you're running your wiring and you're going to put it in the tongue box, that might be something that you want to look at. As you can see, I have some window flashing tape on a few areas here on the teardrop, and what has happened is I've developed a couple of cracks right along the edge of this sidewall here. And I think the problem is I used a 1/2 inch roundover bit on this. And I think the problem was this is a 1/4 inch bendable plywood that I have on the top. And that roundover, I think, thinned out that wood a little bit. And then just over the years of going down dirt roads and rough roads has caused that just to split a little bit. So unfortunately, I think the best way to fix this is to sand a little bit on this side, a little bit on this side, sand it down, come back, fiberglass it again, but put in some filler to help stiffen this up a little bit, and then re-bedliner spray it. So it's going to be a little bit of a work, but if you're going to bedliner spray your teardrop and don't put the aluminum on the sides, you might want to maybe go with a 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch roundover, and that might help alleviate the splitting problem. All right, I installed these vents here so I can put a diesel heater or an air conditioning onto this, and I put a mount here so I could mount it here and connect it via some ducting. I have the storage below here. This is where I keep my chairs, my table, a cot on the other side, some awnings and stuff like that. So this has been really handy and I like it a lot. Just thought I'd show you real quick the table that I use. I bought it off Amazon. It's just an Alps Mountaineering. The thing I like about it is it just disconnects real quick. And then folds up like a chair. And you just put it in the bag. This is the chair that I like to use. It's made by ARB. I like it because it has the hard armrest, a couple pockets on the side, and then it has this cup holder that you just can remove it off like that, and it goes into the bag. And I think they used to be about $50, so for the price of some of the other ones, I just got tired of the soft arm ones always ripping and having to buy new chairs every year. So I thought I'd try this brand out, and I've had it for a couple of years now, and it's been working out great. Thought I'd show you a few things in the back of the galley here. I have the ARB 12-volt fridge. It works great, does not pull a whole lot of amperage. I think before I had my solar panels installed, I went off-grid camping, and I think I was able to get about 3 to 4 days off my battery. So that worked out great. For my main cooking, I use this cob grill. It's actually made in South Africa, and they advertise it as the world's most portable grill. It has a whole bunch of different attachments. It's really nice. The way that it's made is it doesn't put any heat on the surface. So I can cook with it right here with no problem, so that's nice. I still keep my gas stove just because in the mornings, if I just want to heat up some water real quick for some coffee, that's the quickest way to go, just because this actually uses charcoal briquettes, so that takes a little bit longer to get started and everything. And then down here, I'll show you real quick, I have my hot water. All right, so this is my hot water tank. It just uses propane, and I'm able to do dishes and take a shower if need be. So it is nice to be off-grid and have some hot water. So let's get into the design of the galley hatch. Overall, I use the Steve Fredericks design. It's a good design. I haven't had any problems with water coming in on the sides. I did have a problem with dust coming in from the bottom. So I actually had to add another little piece of wood here and then add another seal. And that helped create a good enough seal to where dust wasn't getting in going down dirt roads. Now, I had another problem, and it might be partially my fault, I think, just because when I initially put this up here during the building process, I was supposed to put it halfway down, weigh it, and there is an online calculator to help with the gas springs. Somehow I think messed that up. I may have weighed it wrong. And so when I got the gas springs originally, they were too strong. And I'll kind of show you here. Let me get you on the handheld and I'll get up there and I'll show you what it's like. The problem that I had was how this mount connected to this 1/2 inch piece of plywood. When I screwed it directly into this plywood, of course I couldn't go any further than 1/2 inches. So this actually ripped out, and you can see over here that when it did it one time, this actually went into my plywood there. Now what I ended up having to do is taking this piece of 3/4 inch plywood here and then countersinking some holes on this side and securing it this way. That way I could screw into a bigger piece of wood. The other problem was when I misweighed this, my gas springs were too strong. And what this did was when the galley was in the closed position, it put too much of a vertical upward force, and it ended up ripping out my hurricane hinge. It just shoved this up in my screws. So I actually had to take the hatch off, clean all this up, and then get longer screws to go into my spars here. So that was a problem. And then once I did all that, reweighed it, used the calculator again, I got new springs, and I was at they only sell these in certain increments of pounds, and I was right at the threshold of being just below, or I could go a little bit higher. And so I went just below because I thought that would be fine, or right at, I can't remember. And now the problem I have is the galley opens in the summertime and stays open no problem, but in the wintertime the springs are a little bit loose, and they get a little soft. So I have to put this up here during cold weather to keep it from starting to sag and close on me. With all that being said, if I were to redo my galley hatch, I might find a better way to build it. I think this galley hatch is a little heavy. Having to add the extra plywood on this and on the side, it just creates a lot of weight. I know there's other builders out there that have different ways, and you might want to look into those, because I do feel like this is a little bit heavier of a galley. Now my teardrop is 5 foot tall, so the extra foot of my hatch also added some weight. But yeah, if I were to do it again, I think that I would try to find a different way to build my hatch. Haven't done a whole lot for the interior. I did add these blackout blinds here, and they just fold up like this. And then the windows I don't really particularly like. They're either all the way up or all the way down. They really don't have adjusted. They just kind of fall. So what I do, just to allow a little bit of air, is I just stick a stick there, so that helps it not come all the way down for a couple of inches or something. Now for the inside here, I did add cup holders on each side. Put a bottle of water up there, that way it's up out of the way at night. I have not made blinds for that, but generally what I do is I just take some of this flashing, tape it up there, and that blacks it out for me. Other than that, everything else has been working great. That slide for the laptop, the cabinets. I got a foam piece out of a camper, and then I throw the topper on it, and that's pretty comfortable, and that allows me to move this around easy and make the bed. I have the ARB awning and side room up now, and I have the 23-0 180-degree awning up. Has a door on the side here. comes around, it's open in the back. And then you have your poles here that you can angle back to give you more square footage here for open area. So this is a nice area to hang out. During the summer, definitely open up this door right here to help with the breeze, because it will get hot under all of this canvas. And in the room over here, it has doors on this side. This whole panel unzips and opens up into a screen. And then you have the two doors and screens on this side. For the inside, you have this panel that opens up to the teardrop side. And it doesn't lay flat against the teardrop because of the wheel well there. And you have to zip this up a certain way to get in and out of the teardrop. And let me get set up and I'll show you that. You do have to remember to keep the zippers in that position right there. That's because of how the door opens and being able to open it from the inside of the teardrop. Let me go around the other side and I'll show you what I mean. When you go to open up this door here, as you can see, there are the zippers. Now, it hits the tent, so you have to be able to zip this way so you can, it's kind of hard to do one-handed, and zip this down so you can get into the side tent. All right, that's the tour of the teardrop and all the changes I've made to it. Also some things that I might change or not do again. If you have any questions, or if I didn't go over anything good enough, drop some comments below and I will try to answer them as best as I can. Or if you want a video of me to go in depth a little bit more on something, I can do that too. Until then, I'll see you around.